Greetings, I'm Rob Chappers and welcome to today's video of joy and enthusiasm for you. I've had a break of about 10 days, maybe 15 days from playing the guitar, and so this is the first. Woken up, done some washing up, cut my finger, and I thought I'd make a video for you all about what it takes to be a guitar player. Now, what I'm talking about here is a guitar player in the rock, blues or metal industry, not necessarily pop or classical. So if you're a pop or classical dude, this video probably isn't for you. So this is essentially a list of top tips from me about the skills that you need to acquire and the experiences that you need to gain to work in today's industry as a guitar player. And I can talk from experience because I am one. So let's start with a really basic skill that lots and lots of musicians, and actually this accounts for every musician, really needs to get before you can work in the industry as a musician. That is, learn to drive. I can't count the number of times I've been to an audition, where I've auditioned musicians to play with me, and irrespective of how incredible they were, if they can't drive, it's a real difficulty because maybe they're a drummer or a bassist. It's not as if the gear is light. Very often if you're playing a gig or a series of gigs, it's a requirement for people to get to the venue, set up. You need to be transportable. So driving is an absolute must. I know it's expensive. You just got to save up. Just get a job, save some money, learn to drive. It'll do you wonders. And the sense of freedom is something to behold. Now these aren't in order of sort of necessity, these are just coming off the top of my head and from a little bit of thinking I did recently while I was washing up. So the second thing is, you need really good video editing skills. Now the reason for this is pretty obvious, I would have thought. Today's industry is run more on new media, and video making is really important to reach an audience like I have, which is why you're watching me. Gone are the days where you gig in little venues on the circuit and get spotted and signed to a label and then you're off with a big career. You may get signed, and it's great if you do, if you want to be signed, but the days of a long career through being signed are pretty much, to all intent and purpose, gone. And what you're much safer doing is building up your own system, your own network, whereby you work for yourself, you sign yourself, and it's a lot safer, it's a lot more secure, it's a lot harder, but you have all the control, and control is really a key word, something that you need if you want to do this for the rest of your life. So, video editing skills. Go and check out a bunch of different softwares, see what you like. I recommend Final Cut Pro X because it's what I use at the moment, although I have used Sony Vegas, really enjoyed Sony Vegas, although I discovered it was a little bit unstable, for what I wanted to do, which was make movies and DVDs. The latest update may be awesome, but a lot of the people I work with, and this tends to be just the truth in this particular industry, use Mac. Now I'm not going to start a Mac versus PC debate, although it probably has now started in the comment section below, but a lot of my friends and peers in this industry will use a Mac. Don't worry about using GarageBand, that's an awesome piece of kit. Don't worry about using iMovie. iMovie's wicked, it's basically a watered down version of Final Cut Pro. The first 300 videos I launched to YouTube were just iMovie shot pieces of content with a really simple handy cam. And in fact I still use really basic bits of kit, and this is the next thing. What gear do you need? And we're not talking about guitar gear, we're talking about gear to get your product, your music, out to the world. Well, the first thing is you need a camera. I don't care who you are, if you want to be a musician in rock, pop, metal, you need a camera to shoot content, to reach an audience, because it's much more cost effective than going out and talking to everyone you meet. So, the latest iPhones or the latest Android, they have great cameras. Man, when I was 18, starting this career, if I'd had one of those, I think it would have made everything so much faster for me. If you've got a smartphone, and it's got a great camera built into it, use that. It's a really simple, effective tool. You've always got it on you. You can shoot little bits here and there, kind of like an Instagram video kind of concept, like a Vine. Just shoot little bits and compile it together and make a weekly blog all about you and your band or your solo project. That's the cheapest, most effective way of doing it. If you haven't got a smartphone, or you have but you want to go to the next level, maybe get a handy cam. I use a really simple Philips thing that I'm looking at down here, which is an alternative angle that I may not use. But to be honest, nowadays, all the handy cams, they're so good. I mean, you really can't go wrong. Digital handy cams, they're badass. Step up from that, it's an SLR, which is what I'm shooting on now. I've got a Canon 650D, it's a brand new thing for me. I'm still learning the ropes, how it works, and there's a lot to learn. The quality is fantastic. There are lots and lots of issues around using SLRs, but basically it's great quality. But for my money, use a smartphone, use a handy cam, you're winning all over. So that's the camera gear. Audio gear. Just get a bunch of basic mics. Just get a really simple mic preamp like a Presonus Firebox or anything like that. Anything basic and simple. They're all going to be good. And just use GarageBand. Plug into GarageBand. Make sure that when you start rolling on the camera and you start rolling on the audio, you clap. And then when you look at the audio, there'll be a spike where the clap is, and there'll be a spike on the audio from the camera, and you can match the two, and then you synchronized your external audio to your camera audio, and you've got a wicked system, and you can line them up, and you've got good audio, and blah, 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 blah. So there you go. Get a bunch of simple mics, just get an SM, just that'll do. Mic up the cab, maybe use a little bit of the camera as an ambient room mic. Learn about it on Google, it's really, really simple. At the end of the day, if you can't afford all this gear, just use the audio you've got. My rule of thumb is, use what you can use. So if you've only got a smartphone, just use the smartphone. At least you're doing something. And don't be apologetic for using affordable gear. There's nothing wrong with cheap gear. Sometimes cheap gear is brilliant. I can attest to that because half of my career I used very cheap gear. So, that's the camera gear, the audio gear. Let's talk about guitars and amplifiers. As a musician, as a guitar player, you're going to need those. How much do you need to spend? What is a beginner guitar? Let me clear something up. A beginner's guitar is the guitar you first use when you begin to play. It isn't a guitar of a certain value. That's bullshit. I know beginners who start on a Les Paul, standard. I know beginners who start on a Yamaha Pacifica. Both are correct. It's to whatever budget you have. And someone that wants to start playing on a Les Paul shouldn't be penalised or slated for wanting to do that. And someone that starts on the Yamaha Pacifica shouldn't be either, because it's to whatever cost you've got, whatever budget you've got, and whatever to a certain extent you feel comfortable playing. Because if you pick up a Yamaha Pacifica or a vintage V100 and think, wow, this feels great, I'm excited to play it, you're going to play it more. And you're going to practice more, and you're going to become a better guitar player because you're used to playing all the time because it's exciting to play. So, beginners or intermediates, it doesn't matter how much you spend on a guitar. And this isn't me plugging my own guitar brand, this is just buy whatever you want to buy, don't worry about the cost, don't think you have to spend a lot of money to get a great guitar, because you really don't have to anymore. Back in the 80s, it was very different. If you bought a guitar that was under £200, prepare to own a dog. They just weren't well made. And nowadays, standards are a lot higher, retailers have a lot more to lose, customers are difficult to find, so you can really get a great guitar for just a couple of £100 really. So there you go, that's the guitars. Amplifiers. Don't get anything big and really, really, really loud. I'm talking about guys maybe here who started to gig and want to get out there and do a little bit of gigging. Things like your 100 watt head, like this one here. 100 watt head is great if you're going to go out touring and you want the... Lots of watts give you better headroom for the cleaners, and the clean stays clean for longer if you turn the volume up. If you're not bothered about a clean tone, you don't need lots of watts, because the second you put an amplifier in front of a mic through a PA and you've got a good sound guy, you can gig with 20 watts. In fact, I have gigged with 15 watts and been too loud. So I think the concept of needing 100 watts or 50 watts is very old school. I mean, I used to play gigs because I'm 38. I used to play gigs back in my day when I was 16, 17, where there was no PA, there was no sound guy. You turned up to a farm and you put your amp in the back of a truck and you cranked it as loud as you could. And yeah, there you need 100 watts. But nowadays, any venue you're going to play, if it hasn't got a PA, don't play there. So you can get away with your 15 watt tiny tower head. You know, you need a good cab. I would take a tuba 12 if you can. And get a friend to help you carry it if you're young, because these are heavy things. You don't want to injure your back as a young guy, and I know plenty of people who have. The Black Star, for example, I know a guy who gigged with an HT5. It's perfectly doable. As long as you've got good monitoring at the front, you don't have to spend lots of money to go out and gig. Roland Cube 60, great example of that. Put a mic in front of that, it's a wicked amplifier. So I'm not going to suggest a brand or a budget. It's your budget, you stick to your budget and you choose the brand that excites you the most and that you love the sound of, but you don't have to spend thousands of pounds to be a gigging musician with a pro attitude. You can just go out there and use whatever you've got. As long as it's more than 15 watts, you know, valve / tube, you're fine. Digital amplifiers, the power work a little bit different to valve or tube amplifiers. So 15 watts valve tube, 20 to be safe if you want to use a clean tone, otherwise you're fine. So effects pedals, you don't really need them. I mean, if you want to have them, that's great. If there's a particular song you've written with a particular sound, like a wah maybe or something critical, great, go and get it, but you don't really need them. All you really need to gig and to get out there is a volume boost for a solo. That's really it. I mean, you're going to need a tuner. And by the way, tuners, I would recommend using, where's mine? I've got 5 of them around this room. The clip-on headstock tuners, they're brilliant. I used to use, well I still use on my gig rig on the floor, a Big Boss TU3, and it's awesome, and I've always used those. Always will use the Boss TU pedals because they're really hardcore and they're great. But here's the thing, if you're a beginner or you've got a low budget, you don't necessarily have the money to buy one of those. I think you could buy 4 of these new Planet Waves micro headstock tuners for the same price. Stick one here, stick one in your pocket, put one in your bag. You've always got a tuner on you. You don't want to lose your tuner. And they're pretty good. I mean, they're sensitive. It's just a tuner. It does the job. You know, it's on the headstock. If you're gigging and you've not gigged a lot, maybe you've played less than 100 gigs. You want one on the headstock all the time so that you can play mid-song. You can check it if you need to, or halfway through the set you can take a look at the headstock. You haven't got to find your feet on the floor and find the tuner. If you've got the money for a TU or something similar, get one. They're great. But I think, wow, massive seagull. That was the biggest seagull I've ever seen in my life. Came up to my window and went, "What's going on? What's going on, buddy? What'd you do?" Anyway, get a tuner. That's all you need. Unless, of course, you've got the budget and you want to get loads of pedals, that's great. But lots of pedals and effects don't equal a great song. And they don't equal a great guitar player. Here's the next thing. What do you need? Skills. You need guitar skills. You need to be able to play your instrument. Now, I don't care whether you're a blues, rock or metal player, you need blues skills. Because the blues pentatonic scales, all 5 of them, across the fretboard, and the concept of the way blues players play lead, it rolls over into rock and metal because they borrow from blues. Look at bands like Sabbath, bands like Zeppelin. They were blues bands, well, particularly Sabbath, started as a blues band, became a metal band. All the skills, all the vibrato, all the bending, you need that in your vocabulary to be an effective metal or rock player. So learn blues. If you don't like blues, it's probably because blues is very diverse. You've heard one kind of blues and you haven't heard the blues that really hits home with you. So for me, it's people like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Peter Green, Jimi Hendrix. And there are loads of great blues players out there doing all different kinds of styles of blues, C60, Black Keys. Just find one that fits with you, one that resonates with your spiritual musical soul, and then go and play blues music and then find a way of bringing it into what you do. It's very useful for you. So you need the blues scales. I can't tell you how many guitar players come to me for a lesson and don't know their 5 pentatonic blues scales, or don't know a major scale, or don't know how to play a minor scale. The thing is, let me tell you what you need. This is everything you need to learn as a guitar player, and that's it, okay? Your 5 pentatonic blues scales, the major scales, the 7 positions of them across the fretboard, and if you count the 5 positions as well, there's seven 3-note string scales, and then there are 5 that fit on top of the pentatonics. Try and learn those. They are also all of the modes. So they are the minor scales, they are the Dorian, the Lydian, the mixed Lydian, etc. The major scale is all of the modes. If you need to learn about intervallic theory, modal application, you need to learn to sight read rhythm notation. You don't have to learn to read and write music score unless, of course, you want to be a classical musician, or you want to be in the pop industry, or you want to be someone that needs to do that in a pit in an orchestra. Reading and writing music, this may come as a surprise, is not very important for a rock and metal player. What is important is reading rhythm notation and tab. Basically, you need those skills to explain to a fellow musician what it is that you've just come up with, or to write something down that you've come up with. But to be honest with you, if Beethoven had been given a video camera, I think he would have used that a lot more than sitting down and writing score. Technology's improved. Nowadays, if you get an idea, you can record it on your iPhone, you can record it on your camera, you can get it down in a way that's much quicker than scoring it out. And to find other musicians that read and write music is good luck. So reading rhythm notation, critical, because it gives you an understanding of the way rhythm works. Reading and sight reading music score is really good. If you can do it, awesome, but you don't need to do it if you want to be a rock, metal, or a blues guitar player in today's industry. You get a camera, you can get your ideas down there, go and record your ideas. The other thing is, of course, classical musicians, when they played music or they wrote music, the songs went on for ages. They were very, very, very long. And nowadays, when you go out and tour, you don't read what you're playing. In fact, the only time I ever saw anyone doing that was Guthrie at the very first Aristocrats gig ever in California, because they'd literally written all these songs and they were reading each other's pieces. Very rare, highly skilled individuals. Nowadays you memorise the song because it's 2.5, 3 minutes long. So yeah, do that. What else do you need? A really, really good attitude. You want to be a nice guy or girl, because this industry is tiny. So my SLR camera's battery just ran out, and I realised I had 4 new batteries in the bag, so thank God for that, because one of the problems with SLR is the batteries take a while to charge, and you can't plug a lead into your camera and keep it continually charged, so there's one of the issues. Yeah, be a nice guy or girl, because this industry is tiny, and the problems with not being a nice person, not having a temper or being arrogant, is that everyone soon finds out. You'd be surprised who you know within 5 connections when you start working in this industry professionally. I mean, I was surprised who I knew within 5 connections, and it's the same, all over the world. I found out recently that in the UK, the music industry turns over as much money as the perfume counter at Marks and Spencer's in London High Street. It's tiny. So yeah, be a nice person. If you find yourself being irritated by people, or being annoyed, or feeling like you're better than everybody, just take a deep breath, take a step back, have a cup of tea, chill, and try again, because it's not going to help you in any way at all. And this is the same on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the new media platforms. If you're a nice person, people will start to follow you, and they'll want to talk to you, and they'll be interested in you. And if you are trolling and spreading hatred, people will ignore you, because like children, you ignore the bad behaviour and you reward the good behaviour, or at least that's what I've always done. So it's a good idea to give out what you expect to get back in this industry, and that probably counts for every industry, if I'm entirely truthful for you. Okay, the last thing of all, really, and I'm sure I've missed something, but whatever, this is the Rob Chapman guide to things I think you should do. Stay healthy. And that means really good diet, really good exercise if you can. Now, everybody goes up and down with diet and exercise, and you've got to find your own way, whatever works for you and gets you that feeling of this is how I can sustain this lifestyle. But if you want to tour, if you want to record, These are physically demanding things to do. Touring exhausted me. I mean, it was wicked fun, but my God, it's exhausting. Recording vocals is incredibly hard work. So I recommend an active lifestyle. So take up something fun like martial arts is what I did, or a sport or whatever. But diet, try and eat as little dairy and meat as possible within your own field of whatever you're comfortable with. Eat as little meat and dairy as you can, and you're good to go. It's common sense, everybody knows. Eat tons of fruit and vegetables, you're going to be healthy and good and disease resistant. And that's my tip for the day. Talking of which, I'm just about to embark on a 10-day juice feast where I do nothing but drink vegetable juices and fruit juices to detoxify and remove body fat and heal a couple of bits that need healing. So you can follow my progress on that as I lose fat and regain my youthful vigour, or something like that. Anyway, I hope this has been useful for you. As ever, please comment in the comment section below. Send me videos and I'll take a look at them, and send me messages and I'll read them, and things like that. You guys take it easy. I'm going to leave you with a lick of the day so that you can have fun with a new lick of the day. I'll do it again. This is in D minor blues. So let's go. Whoa, I'm in drop D, or whatever.